Welcome to Next to Madison, a podcast to help you live your best life.
Welcome back. Another exciting episode of Next to Madison. We are diving back into the crypto space. Obviously, it's been rough lately, but we're going to get through it. The most important thing to know with crypto, and I've said it so many times on this podcast, obviously never invest more than you can afford to lose. Always do your research. But here's the thing that I've noticed, and this is with me. The bear markets don't really affect you as much when you truly believe in the fundamental of crypto, in the decentralization of putting power back into the people's hands, of creating a new monetary system that's more fair for everyone to participate in. People are tired of, being ripped off by the banks and, not being able to invest in certain stocks when they first come available. There's a lot of different factors that have kind of said, you know what, crypto's more where I want things going. It's more, decentralization. It's better for the people. There's more opportunity, but with opportunity and high rewards, obviously comes high risk. So it's always important to understand if you're feeling like, oh, I wish I'd never gotten into crypto, or I'm glad I didn't get into crypto. Well, I'm not going to convince you otherwise. You've got to do what's best for you. But for me personally, this hasn't been so bad. I see it as an opportunity. There were so many different coins I didn't get in on because I was like, I don't want to buy them too high. And I feel like I kind of missed the boat. I got to wait for the next ones. And now I feel like it's kind of even the playing field a little bit. So those of you who haven't gotten in and thought it was too late, well, now it's kind of early again. Obviously, like if you want to make those big returns, you're going to have to take big risk, which is why you really should only invest what you can afford to lose. But I love the fundamentals of crypto and what it stands for. And so for me, when it goes down, I just know it's a cycle. Eventually it's going to kind of bounce back up. It's probably going to, take out some losers, so to say, companies wise, not people, and get us the more stable ones so we can kind of see who survives this bloodbath, so to say. But anyways, on this episode, I'm actually sitting down with a young woman who is very big on Bitcoin and the fundamentals of crypto, and is
This episode is brought to you by Balance 7. Balance 7 is a concentrated alkaline with a pH of 11+. I didn't realize that acidosis is responsible for almost every infectious disease in our world today. With COVID-19 and the world opening back up, I started taking Balance 7, and after 3 days of taking it, I feel better, I have more energy, my focus is better, I think clearer. This supplement is amazing. Thanks, Dr. Noristani, for the recommendation. And all Next to Madison listeners are able to try it today by visiting balance7.com and enter code word Madison for a complimentary gift and free shipping.
All right, we are back with our guest, Layah Heilpern. I'm so excited. You guys have to follow this girl on Twitter. She's got a ton of followers, but obviously everybody always needs more. She's amazing. She's so smart. She's recently moved from London to Miami, which is becoming the crypto hub. And I'm so excited that she took time out of her busy schedule because she's got a very popular podcast. She's always doing TV, as I mentioned. And so welcome to the show. I'm so excited you're here.
Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited to talk about the markets, talk about crypto, Bitcoin. It's been a crazy time. So I'm excited to get into it. Thanks so much for having me.
Yeah, of course. And we haven't had like a ton of crypto women on. I mean, obviously we're still trying to get more women into this industry. So I love having this because I can talk to another female kind of about, this industry that's still a little bit of a man's world.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, I'm not one of those people that care so much about whether it's a man's world or not.
Yeah.
I just don't really care, to be honest. Like, as long as you add value to the space, then that's cool for me. I just don't care too much. Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I like that because it's true, right? I think we focus too much on diversity when it really should just be the best person wins, and you got to
for sure
and be you can be. Okay, so this is so exciting. So I want to talk about, obviously we've seen a lot of shakeout in crypto and kind of the markets, but you're like me, like we believe in the fundamentals of what crypto stands for. So from your perspective, can you just kind of break down for our listeners like the fundamentals of crypto and like why it's so much better than the current banking systems that we have in place that we've had for years?
Sure. I mean, crypto is such an interesting word because it's so broad, and I'm not a Bitcoin maximalist, but what I'm about to say is going to make me sound like a Bitcoin maximalist, because the fundamentals of crypto are unclear, right? Because like every crypto is different. Some cryptos are VC backed, some are more centralized than others. So it's quite unclear. But when you have a crypto like Bitcoin, which I believe the space is founded on, I can break down those fundamentals, which would be decentralization, sovereignty, personal responsibility, and really just empowering people to take control over their finances. And so I often don't really care so much about the price, given that it is a decentralized network whereby the blocks will continue to be added to the chain. Miners will continue to confirm transactions, and you and I can continue to transact in a decentralized way outside of the traditional system, regardless of the price. So for me, that is always sort of like the main goal, having something which is alternative, whereby you don't have to be strapped to the shackles of the traditional system.
Well, exactly. And so when did you first get into crypto?
So I'm very political by like design and heart and all that. And I'm actually a journalist by trade. So I was working as a journalist for quite a few years. And my boss at the time in London wouldn't give me the job promotion that I wanted. And so I sort of said to him, hey, like, I'm going to be on screen one day. Do you want to help me in getting there? And he was just like, oh, I'll let you know in 2 months. And obviously he didn't. So a job became available in Malta to work as a journalist covering crypto and blockchain, but on screen. And so that's kind of how I learned about it. But then I didn't really stay because my goal always was to be a correspondent. Like I always wanted to be a war correspondent. I wanted to just be like there at the heart of it, like when everything is kicking off. And that's what I really wanted. And I kind of basically got that job at a really young age. And I realized that I didn't want that job. And I was super happy that I didn't dedicate my entire 20s to trying to get that job. And then I don't know, I kind of just figured I love decentralization. Like I love working from anywhere. I like working in a space which is so innovative. And then also when I used to report on like terrorist attacks and stuff, and like I naturally have a smile on my face, even if I'm in a bad mood, like naturally have a smile on my face. So I'm there, like actually I was talking about the migrant crisis, and there were like so many. I was living in Paris at the time, and there's like a lot of migrants, unfortunately, in North Paris. And I'm there with like a very subtle smile on my face, like behind me is where hundreds of thousands of migrants, and it's just that smile just doesn't work for news.
Yeah,
but it just fits.
Sense. Yeah.
It just fits in like the crypto world where like you're talking about important stuff, but like you can sort of be a bit more charismatic about it. And so being so politically aligned, like politically driven, being a libertarian, you could say, it just kind of made sense, and I sort of just fell into it, and then decided to stay.
Yeah, because you mentioned the word libertarian, which I would say I am too.
Right.
Which is basically, to sum it up, we just want the government to be less in control. Like, let us do our things. You do your job, let us do our job. You do your shit, let us do ours. And that's what really everything should be about. But we kind of, lost control. But obviously we're not political on the Next Medicine podcast, so we'll steer off that subject. So can you say when your first Bitcoin purchase was, like when you dove into it with your own personal funds?
Yeah. Okay. So it was nothing. It was like 2017 or 18, but it was when it was at like $3,000. So 2018 at like $3,000. And I was working. Yeah, but I was working in the space at the time, but again, just to get to a greater end, like not for the purpose of like taking down the system, right? It was just to like develop my career. So I kept selling, like I bought and then I'd sell, and I'd buy and sell a lot to try and make some money. And I didn't make any money until until it was like 2000 and like, well, I did buy then, but then like I held a little bit, but I didn't really fully get into it until I started working very more into the space. And so I started getting paid in Bitcoin. And that's when I decided not to sell and to keep just taking those gains and getting paid entirely in Bitcoin.
Well, I mean, that's amazing. Like, so that happens so rarely. And it's like people, especially in this space, it's like the dream. So it just goes directly to your ledger then.
Yeah. So basically I think paying somebody in Bitcoin is like one of the best things that you can do because, and this is I worked for a company called Altcoin Buzz at the time. And I think the CEO Shash is amazing because he knew how to fully like convert me basically, because he would give me the product, right? Rather than making me put money down, like he would give me the product. And that is a really smart way to get somebody involved. So pay them in Bitcoin, gift them some Bitcoin. There's a crypto card that he gifted me. So he only had to put down like $180 or something. And then he gave that to me. And from then onwards, I upgraded the card. I put so much money in, like that's become my main place. So gifting someone is one of the best ways to get them involved.
That's great. Cause then they have to be, if they want to obviously retrieve or spend the funds, they got to go, learn the systems and figure out how to kind of use it. And it's like the best way to learn anything is not by listening. It's also it's more by doing, I think.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And then also like you don't feel like you've lost anything, right? Because I was saying that I first started buying at around $3,000 and I kept selling because like it's my money and I felt like I didn't really understand, I didn't really believe, and I felt like, the longer I don't sell this, the more likely I am to lose. But if you gift someone, then they're not going to sell it because they didn't have that in the first place, right? So naturally they're going to hold, they're going to see. So I think gifting people is truly like one of the best things you can do for mass adoption.
No, I completely agree with that. So that's amazing. So you started this podcast all about crypto.
Yeah.
And that took off.
I hope so, if you say so.
Well, I mean, and you have a ton of followers on Twitter, which is a big crypto community. You're very vocal on there. I like your stuff. And you've made the move from London to Miami, the new cryptocurrency hub. So you're just all in, but you wrote a book. I want to talk about the book real quick.
Yeah.
So what was the book called again? It was Bitcoin. It was about Bitcoin. It was Undressing Bitcoin.
Yeah. Undressing Bitcoin. Yeah.
So tell us about that. What was kind of the motivation and why was it so important for you to write this book?
Yeah, sure. So Undressing Bitcoin is a really concise and to the point way for beginners to understand what Bitcoin is. I often feel like a lot of people don't like to read. Most people don't like to read. Most people aren't super academic, right? And even I know you don't have to be academic to read, but people just don't like reading. So I wanted to create something which was fun, simple, easy, and people don't feel overwhelmed by it. Like I'm not somebody who loves reading myself. I've read books, but I read books out of desperation. Like when I need to know an answer to something, I will read a book, right?
Yeah.
Something that I can't find in a video or something like that, I'll read a book out of desperation. And so I wanted to, because I feel overwhelmed. Like I feel overwhelmed when I have this thick book that I have to read. So I wanted people to feel comfortable. I wanted them to understand the importance of taking personal responsibility, freedom, sovereignty. I wanted them to understand like what is the core of Bitcoin, right? Because there's so much going on in this space, but what is the core? Like on days like this, I know we're recording in advance, but like, when there's huge sell-offs, right? Blood in the streets. Why is that happening? What does that mean? It's just a lot of noise. And the best thing to do is focus on Bitcoin, the one thing which is reliable and in my opinion, guaranteed. And I outline why that is in the book. And it's also very much about like, there's this dream. I'm not even going to call it the American dream. It's just the dream of, you go to school, you study, get good grades, go to university, get a good job, get married, get a mortgage, a house, kids, and, save a little bit, get a pension fund. And that's going to help you. Right. And the truth is that's not going to allow you to retire. the thing which allows you to retire is to understand how the financial system works. Now, I don't explain how the financial system works as such, because I can't do that in the space of time that I have with the book. But I explain that that is a problem. And, you know, you have to understand the stock market. You have to understand investing. You have to understand entrepreneurship. So all these different things. And then there's Bitcoin, which is also an option. It's something which is deflationary. It's something which you can bet on. It's savings technology outside of the corruption. Well, not quite yet. I don't quite think it's an uncorrelated asset just yet. But eventually it will be. So it's kind of just explaining that that dream is a lie and Bitcoin is better.
Oh, absolutely. Because, well, I think it's like when our parents or our grandparents, more to say, like when they followed that dream, it was more of a dream at that point, right? Things were more affordable, right? You could be a teacher and, you know, a scientist. Those are my grandparents, and have more than one home and be able to save and invest in the market and get a pension, and things were good. After the 70s, things started to change. And so that dream that your grandparents had doesn't exist anymore. So it's so important for people past that time to educate yourselves on what is going on, so you can prepare yourselves so you don't fall victim to leaving money in a savings account that's going to get you nowhere.
Yeah. And, you know, you say grandparents, but like even my parents, like I went to university, which I regret kind of, it's useless, but my oldest brother didn't go to university. And I remember my dad was like very adamant that he go. And my brother sort of just saw beyond it and sort of said, you know, I don't want to go. I don't see the point in going. And then he got a good job and then he wanted to leave to take more risk. And dad was like, no, don't, you know, and because your parents take the traditional route, like that's what they know. So I think it's really just like this new generation of, I don't know. It's just a new generation. It's just a new wave of seeing the realities of the 9-to-5 being a scam. I mean, even I'm a millennial, but even Gen Z on TikTok are talking about investing, which is really powerful because like when I was in school, we weren't talking about investing at all. We were talking about, like, careers. Like we'd have career day and, you know, what do you want to be? Do you want to be a teacher? Do you want to be a nurse? Do you want to be a doctor? All these things, which like aren't really going to allow you to retire and really just reap the fruits of your labor, the amount of labor that you've given, you know, up until the age of 60, 70, whatever it is.
Yeah. And what's so backwards is, you know, hearing about it now and looking back. I mean, I went to school for finance, so I was a finance major, so I had that education background, but it's only because I paid for it and I chose to do that. But up until then, I think I had one class in high school that was kind of economic finance focused a little bit. They don't teach finance in schools. And it's just crazy because it is the most fundamental thing we need to know.
But is it crazy?
But they do it because obviously there's control there, but we won't get into that. But
why don't you want to get into it out of interest?
We don't go political on the Next to Madison podcast.
It's not political though, is it? But it's not political. It's just like the reality of the financial.
It is. Right. It was set up to fuck us, essentially. You know, and people just didn't do anything, right? You would put your money into. They would always say, what was the key financial rule, right? It was saying like obviously invest, but always have an emergency fund. An emergency fund was 6 to 9 months in case something happened that you had those living expenses to cover yourself. And then you would just leave it in there and it would pay you nothing. But we just signed up for it like it was no big deal and we accepted this and we moved along. It wasn't really until DeFi came along and these other, well, some are CeFi still, but came along that were offering you more of a yield that people started to wake the fuck up and realize, okay, our system's completely backwards. And then you always heard the term the accredited investor. So you can't get in unless you know, 250 of liquid or cash or whatever. And so you were preventing these people from even getting a leg up. You were keeping them slaves to this 9-to-5 system, and then they'd be paid and they'd have their health insurance, and then they really, couldn't leave. But crypto is kind of, I feel like, blown the lid off the whole financial system, and what a fucking scam it is.
Yeah, I totally agree with you.
Yeah. And also the whole thing too is, I still contribute to, Soul 401k because I'm a business owner. But if you really think about, because when I was in corporate, we had the 401ks and the companies would match you, and you would think about that and you're like, okay, that's a thing, it's tax deferred and the company's going to match me and it's going to be great.
Yeah.
But if you really break that down and you think, what the fuck? I'm going to lock my money up for 40 to 50 fucking years, earning hardly.
And then when you withdraw it, but
yeah.
When you withdraw it, you have to pay income tax on it, right? So like
yes,
yeah. So I've seen this. It's not very good. It's not practical at all. I've seen this play out terribly. So yeah. I won't be creating any of these like retirement things. I just won't. I'm gonna have Bitcoin in a non-custodial hardware wallet, and that's my retirement fund.
Yeah. And a lot of people are starting to go that way, like I still have the diversity, but I'm not really buying stocks. I let my financial advisor kind of take care of that end of it, but the rest is more, crypto, because I believe in that system more. I believe it's leveling the playing field and giving everyone the opportunity to take advantage of this amazing thing, where before our financial system was so rigged against 99% of the population.
Yeah, absolutely. Like, you don't need to be an accredited investor to get involved. And I think that's the most important thing, because these accreditations and all these sorts of things are just so ridiculous. I remember I was having a conversation with Hester Pierce, the SEC commissioner, and she was sort of saying how she thinks, it was interesting. She was saying how she thinks that the SEC's role should be more of an advisory role, be more of like a disclaimer body rather than a regulatory body, or rather than somebody who says, yes, you can do this or you can't do that. And that was just really fascinating, to hear it from somebody within their own sector. That was quite fascinating. But yeah, I mean, it does level the playing field. I think that ultimately we should be empowering people and teaching them about everything, from like inflation to how to invest, how to take self-custody, how to manage your risk. Like, that's really important given what we've seen over the last few weeks. And rather than saying, sorry, you're just, you don't qualify. Like, what does that mean? How do you decide who does and doesn't qualify for something? It's because how much money they have in the bank. Well, what if like their parents gifted it to them? Or what if, I don't know, just so many different situations that you could be in. So I think, everybody should have the freedom to get involved. Freedom is key. But I think that the regulatory body, their responsibility should be to educate how to manage risk. What's the difference between, should we understand what the difference is between Bitcoin and Dogecoin? Like, something as simple as that. Like, should we understand, like, why do we put Bitcoin on a pedestal, but we don't put Dogecoin on a pedestal? What's the difference between Solana and Bitcoin? One's decentralized, one's VC-backed. So is this a regulatory body's responsibility? I mean, initially I'd say no, but then again, you could say yes, because they want to regulate, they want to be involved. So if they want, to have their mark, that would be the mark that I would say, hire people to educate people, put it on the syllabus. I don't know, do what the hell you need to do.
Yeah. And I like that education point, because, a lot of these, like you mentioned, Dogecoin, it's a meme stock or a meme coin, and it doesn't really have, it's not Bitcoin. Bitcoin's kind of like the digital gold, so to say, right? But you mentioned Solana, and then obviously there was Luna, and that was a fucking nightmare. But people aren't educated by this. They jump on Twitter, they start following a bunch of people, or maybe they've jumped on Discord, or their friend at a barbecue told them they're buying a coin, and instead of like doing some research, they just literally buy their way in. They don't look at the charts of kind of where it's been moving and things of that sort. But yeah, so I do like that education part, I think, is key, so people are more aware of kind of what they're buying. But I think we'll see more also like financial advisor type roles that pop up within this space.
Within the space though, not like, I don't think, sorry to interrupt you, but I don't think that we'll see traditional financial advisors truly being able to advise. Like I spoke with my dad's financial advisor, and I was like, yo, like this is the situation, and he doesn't get it, too old to get it, doesn't want to get it, too risky, you know. And so when we see financial advisors cropping up discussing Bitcoin, they're gonna be younger people who come from this space. Like, I don't think, or just younger people in general who are more open and, you know, tech savvy. You're not going to see 50-year-olds, 60-year-olds changing in their advice.
Oh, definitely not. And I think the traditional role of kind of like a wealth manager or a financial advisor, whatever they can be called either, but is there's such high volatility within the crypto market, and it never stops, right? And there's a restriction on countries. So the swings are very, very sharp in either direction. And I think with all the rules and regulations with the SEC has put on them in the traditional markets, that they're going to have a hard time coming into this right now, because obviously their clients are going to need to sign off and know that there's going to be, you know, $20,000 swings in a minute.
Yeah. I mean, I think Luna like dropped and then was up 50% or something within like an hour or something like that. So like you could have doubled your life savings if you felt like putting it all in when Luna was at like $1 or something.
I know that whole thing is absolutely insane, because people just don't understand there's all these stable coins. And then I think I had a friend that had put it into the Terra stable coin, because he was then doing the anchor leverage pool where he lending, and then they were getting like 20% back, which most people will sit there in hindsight and be like, wow, that should have been a huge red flag. That's a huge return, guaranteed return. And I don't think that he thought, because it was stabilized and pegged 1-to-1, that he thought it would collapse. And
but it was algorithmically stabilized. Stabilized, wasn't backed by anything. Which is funny, because I actually quite like the centralized exchanges, because I'm not very techie. Like, I am techie, but I'm not like you know, those degens who are trading and all this stuff. Like, I am no good. Like, I'm a businesswoman. Like, I know how to make good money. I understand concepts. I get the thing. So like, you know, if I can get great cash flow coming through, whether it's in Bitcoin or whatever the hell it is, and I can like look it up in a centralized exchange, get some interest, or like, you know, put some money in a non-custodial wallet, like, I'm good. However, a lot of the centralized exchanges are slashing their rates, which was so awful for me, because I love them. And so I was literally about to put a lot of money onto Anchor. Like, I was about to put a lot of money into UST to get 17% interest on my stable coins. I was about to do it. I think I was going to do it with a friend, and they sent like $70 just to test it. So that was what I was going through last week and the beginning of this week. I was thinking, okay, well, I need to move some money. Like, okay, I'll sell it. It's, you know, so I was about to do that.
Wow. You got you know what? You got very lucky, and you just got to thank God for that, you know? But yeah, there were people that didn't. So hopefully they can find its peg again to get back up there. But it's like with the rate, like BlockFi was one. Did you use BlockFi?
I used BlockFi. Yeah,
so that was a good one. Obviously, they had some issues with the SEC coming in and the fines, and then they couldn't pay anything.
100 million.
Yeah, crazy. So you didn't want to put new money in there, because you were like, well, what's the point of putting it in there? I'm not going to make anything on it anymore until they get their shit figured out. So then there's, you know, the Geminis, but they're, you know, you just don't know. Now you're looking at all these stable coins going, okay, what is it really backed by?
Yeah.
because I think people hear stable and they go, okay, 1-to-1, I'm good. And I can earn, I think Gemini's latest was like 6.25%
On what? Stable coins?
on their stable coin, on the GUSD.
On the GUSD. Interesting.
That makes me think, what is that coin backed by?
See, I trust Gemini though. Like you shouldn't trust anyone, but I do trust Gemini more because okay, this is not financial advice. I don't actually use Gemini. I don't use Gemini. So, but I'm just saying I don't use them because I can't be bothered to move my money. That's literally it. My money's already in too many places, but
yeah,
I trust them because the Winklevoss twins and Gemini are like highly, highly compliant with the regulatory standards in New York. I think that's where they're based. Like they are very, very compliant. Like I believe, I could be wrong, but I believe they never listed XRP because of the lack of clarity around whether or not it's a security. And then a lot of their funds, and I think BlockFi and Gemini together, I think their funds are like, a lot of it is in cold storage. I don't fully know, but I know they're super secure. But in order to, in order to ensure such security, like, they got to take less risk, which means eventually lowering the interest rates, which we see across the board. I mean, like crypto.com just slashed their interest rates because they've spent so much money on marketing and they've obviously got more users now. So like, how can they continue to pay out these amazing rewards?
Yeah.
They'll have to. I mean, you would rather they slash their rates than tell you, yeah, if you lock up 100 grand for 3 months, I will pay you, let's just say £200 a week. So you'd rather them tell you, sorry, we can't pay you that anymore, but we'll pay you this, rather than promising you 200 and then losing that 100 grand that you locked, right? Because that's basically what happened with Terra. The collateral turned into nothing. So yeah.
I know. But you did. So I want to break that down because some people that are listening are going to say, okay, what does she mean when she said VC-backed? So let's break that down for the listeners. Like, so the coins, like what are these stable coins backed by? Nobody really kind of knew. I think people were just throwing their money into these coins. But like Terra was backed by VC, correct?
I mean, Terra, yeah, there were definitely VCs involved. It was backed by multiple different things and multiple things which were non-existent. I think like the biggest issue was we don't fully know what happened. There are rumors about Wall Street, asking to buy like Bitcoin and then selling the Bitcoin and then buying Terra and then selling it. I'm not really sure, but apparently they were totally like duped. Apparently that was what they say. But VC backed is basically like venture capitalists putting money into something, right? So it's like starting a business. So like Solana is the perfect example. Solana is very much VC backed. So it's just a lot of VCs, venture capitalists, rich guys, putting their money down. And given that it's VC backed, it's centralized, and they have a great say over what happens on the network. So it's centralized. Decision making is centralized.
Yeah, Solana's an interesting one. Solana is actually the one coin that I really FOMO'd into, and I've like taken a hit on it. Thank God I didn't do too much. But I remember I was sitting at my family's like lake place, and I'm sitting on the dock, and my phone buzzes, and it's my friend, and he says, "Time to buy," and he listed Ethereum, Cardano, Bitcoin, and Solana. And I went up to my BlockFi account at the time where I had some cash sitting in a stablecoin. And I said, for some reason, like Solana wasn't on BlockFi, and I didn't feel like transferring the money over to then go buy it. So I just decided, I was like, I'll just dump it into Ethereum. That was fine. It worked out. Well, not today, but it worked out I needed more. And I was like, oh, and it went and when he told me to do that, it was at 34. And then it went all the way to 200. Do you remember that really quickly?
Yeah.
And right below 200, I was like, I got to get this shit. Everyone's saying it's faster. It's no. But the thing is that you're saying how it's VC backed. So I had a friend say you should look into a couple of these coins. They're VC backed. I feel like I want to stay away from VC backed coins because it's a pump and dump. For me, it feels like for these rich bros.
It depends like what your goal is, right? You're right, but it depends what your goal is. So if your goal is to make money quick and you are educated, you know who it's backed by, what the project is doing, you know what's going on from a marketing standpoint, like what's happening, then sure, get in early, don't FOMO in. Like if you right, like Solana became Ethereum's main competitor. So did BNB chain. The market wanted something that was fast and instant, that provided the same types of services. And so naturally, if you understand that something like this is being built, the market is going to like it and it's going to work because I believe in the founders, and there's got a lot of money behind it and the marketing is good. Sure, put some money into it. Why not? But you have to understand that like that is not a long-term hold. Like that is not, hang on. Oh, can you hear me? I think it froze. Yeah, you have to understand that that's not a long-term hold. That's just simply going to be a quick trade, whether it's a swing trade over a few months or a few years. I don't really know. But my problem is I don't really like to trade. I don't really have the capacity, the bandwidth to start watching all these different coins. I much prefer to just do my business, hold my Bitcoin, get some interest, and that's it. So for me, unless someone else is going to manage my trading, I'm not doing it. So again, that's what I'm saying. It depends on what your goal is. Is your goal to make quick money? Great. Go for something which looks like a good project, but know when the hell to sell, basically.
Well, and that's the $1 billion question right there, right? When do you sell? But I always say principal.
Yeah,
if you can get your principal out plus 20%, once you've doubled or tripled your money, it's always safe. And then just dollar cost average kind of out. Because you can't be mad about the trade you win. But do you use, because you like the exchange, do you use obviously Binance? You mentioned the BNB chain.
Yeah, I use a lot of different places for different reasons, like Binance, crypto.com. I use Nexo, BlockFi. I use them all.
Okay, because the one thing I like about the Binance thing is the obviously it's so easy to set up those limit orders, those limit buy and sells.
Yeah,
I use that shit all day long.
Yeah,
because there's one security I do trade, because I've gotten all my money out of it, so it's like my fun money, so to say. But I'll use that feature all the time. So I'll be like, oh, I'm going to sell it here and then I'm going to buy it back here, sell it here, buy it back here, just to like accumulate more. But that's always I'm not a trader, but I feel like I have been a trader because I've been loss harvesting on a lot of the ones I've been doing. Solana.
Yeah.
It's not a good one. I'm like, I got to offset those gains. They're going to come back eventually.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also, you know what, like the whole, the Bitcoin thing being way down is for me is great because I need more Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Like I was more into the altcoins. I'm like, I have Bitcoin, but I always was saying, I wish I had more, but I said, I don't feel like buying at this price. And now I feel like God just gave me a gift. And
yeah.
Jumping in a little more, but I don't want to jump all in at this price because I think we might still be going down a little bit, but I don't know.
I think that it's always funny because when Bitcoin is exploding, everybody's like, I wish I bought more. But when Bitcoin drops to these prices, everybody's really afraid and nobody touches it. Which I think is always really funny. We were sort of talking earlier.
Yes, you guys get in while you can. Dollar cost average.
It's so true. And we were talking earlier, we were talking about like the importance of the fundamentals and understanding that like ultimately the network still works. It still does what it's supposed to do. It's still super valuable. And so, yeah, dollar cost average, eat this up. It's an amazing opportunity. And, I think that like, I've, never invest more than you can afford to lose. I think the most important thing about Bitcoin is that, okay, we might all agree that it's going up forever, let's just say. But we don't know we don't know how long the pullbacks are going to be. And so you have to be, when you're investing, you have to be financially secure enough to afford patience. So the last bear market was like 3 years. People bought in at 20K. They were down at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7K for 3 years. That's hard. Like that is really, really hard. That's like 80% of your portfolio, right? Just gone.
Yeah.
And so you need to be able to financially afford patience. And that's it.
Yeah.
Like you can go all in at $68,000, do it. Like, why not? But if that goes to zero, are you going to be financially secure for the next 3 years? Because you don't want to sell. Because if then you sell at a loss, and we all know Bitcoin's eventually going to hit $100,000, $500,000, and so on.
Yes.
Patience. Financially afford patience. That's what I always say.
And you know what? People don't remember this bear market that you're talking about because the majority of the people weren't in crypto at this time.
Yes.
There weren't as many coins. There weren't as many exchanges. It was still something you kind of heard in the passing that kind of came along. And people don't remember that it was that long.
Yeah, it was painful.
Yeah, I mean, well, the last year you could throw a fucking dart at a dartboard and be up. You didn't have to be a genius in this past market, but now it's definitely ridding a lot of people from the market, and the true believers are going to stick around. And you know what was that quote? I don't like him in this context, but I'm going to use the quote Warren Buffett because I know he hates Bitcoin and he's just old. He just doesn't get it, right?
What's the quote?
Well, he's saying like you buy when everybody's selling and you sell when everybody's buying.
Yeah, be greedy when everyone's fearful. Yep. Be fearful when everyone's greedy. I mean,
well, they
that's
say
the point.
As YouTubers start making it is when you should start running.
No, see, it's not the YouTubers. It's not the YouTubers. It's when you're. It's when like your ex-boyfriend's father is calling your father to try and get you on the phone. That's when you trust me. This time last year when Bitcoin was like this time last year, like the bull market was like going crazy. Actually, no, this time last year we'd crashed, but a bit earlier, maybe like March. My ex-boyfriend from when I was like 20, his dad called my dad and was like, Layah, please get on the phone with me. You should teach me how to do Bitcoin and all this stuff. And it's like, it's when the girl in the gym that you always just say hi to, that you don't have a conversation with really, is buying, right? It's when she DMs you on Instagram saying, what do you think about Doge? That's when to sell. It's when people on Facebook are talking about it. It's when these normies are blowing up your phone. That's when to sell. And to be honest, like I did this tweet literally like this time last year, but I never posted it because I draft a lot of my tweets and then I don't post them.
Okay.
And my tweet was like, and I should have posted it because I just knew. My tweet was like, now is the time to sell your altcoins. Like take profit on altcoins, don't sell your Bitcoin. And that was in like early May as we were peaking, you know, when like Elon Musk was about to go on Saturday Night Live and we were all saying that he was going to pump Doge.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was last May. Yep.
Yeah, it was last May. Yeah. I just remember vividly what I was doing last year. And that was just insane. It's just so funny. That's the time to sell.
And and it was right after that appearance when he was talking about Doge that it really just started to go down.
Everything did from there.
Yeah, and it was just a crazy time. But the good news is in bear markets, some of the most wealth is actually made.
Yeah, you know, but like I said, you have to know what you're doing. Invest in projects which you use. That's the best thing to do, and which you see utility in. But ultimately, on days like this, like you just feel reluctant to tell people to invest in projects, and the Bitcoin maxi in me comes out because like everything is a gamble. Everything is. You know, it's not like unethical as such. I wouldn't call it unethical like Bitcoin maxis would say, but ultimately like they're all startups, right? All the altcoins, they're all startups. A startup is a company that's in the first 4 or 5 years, right? Mm-hmm. They're all startups. They're all just launching, and you have to be really careful with these startups. and even the utility of the project doesn't reflect the price. The price is determined by the tokenomics. It's determined by the utility of the coin. Do you have a coin for the sake of having a coin? Could you have just done this without a coin? And then also we're moving into a new era, which is the regulation era, whereby is everything going to be a security? Probably, other than Bitcoin and maybe not ETH. Gary Gensler has said that he thinks everything is a security besides Bitcoin.
And why do you think that? Just because there's just such a centralized feel to them?
Yeah, because they don't pass the Howey test, and it's just, if I give you money, well, this is what I got when I spoke with Hester Pierce. She sort of said, if I give you money to build something and you build something and give me something back, in super simple terms, like, that's a security. So that's what she was saying. So like with XRP or many of these different things, like Solana, VC-backed, you give me money, okay, great, now you own X amount of Sol, VC-backed. So that's going to be Sol is going to get crushed. Like, it's a security. That a lot of them are. And so it's going to be interesting to see how that goes and how that plays out. I think that's going to crush the altcoin market. So just something interesting somebody said to me recently. Something interesting someone said to me recently was, when he was younger, someone much older, he was saying, like, they used to trade internet stocks, he said, like back in the day, in like maybe like the 90s or early noughties, we call them in the UK, the zeros, the noughties. They used to trade internet stocks, and he says now none of them exist. He was like, none of them exist now. They're all just like companies, or none of them exist. You just have major companies like Amazon, Google, whatever it is, Tesla now, I don't know. He was sort of saying, like, that's the same with altcoins, like they're all going to be wiped out, and they're going to start to centralize into like major monopolies of whatever they are, whether it's an exchange, I don't know, whatever it is, but they're going to start to centralize. So we're not going to see like these little shit coins pumping and dumping. Like, it's not going to be like that in the next 10 years. Bitcoin will obviously still exist, but this crazy Wild West market where we see these, 100x's, they're just not going to exist supposedly. But that's an interesting point of view.
And so they don't think it's going to exist because of the regulation coming in?
Yeah, like that would destroy a lot of it. And as the market matures, Oh, someone's calling me. It's my brother. Let me decline it.
Sorry, brother.
That came through on my laptop. So as the market matures, with more regulation, it's basically just going to crush all of that innovation. And maybe not for a bad reason, because of days like today.
Well, right. And you want the bad ones to get swept under in a way, because then it just makes the market stronger, kind of props it up. And, it's more of a, not safer. You don't want it to be safe, because then there's no, big rewards to be made, but at least it'll be a little more, I don't know what the word is, kosher, I guess.
Yeah, something like that.
So that brings me to what another point I wanted to talk to you about is, like, do you have altcoins anymore?
Yeah, I do. I own Sol, I own ADA, I own DOT, I own like all the trendy coins that you can make money on. Like, I own them. I own Ethereum. I'd say my biggest altcoin bag is ETH. And then my biggest bag is Bitcoin. But I don't know, like, I'm staking ADA. We'll see where that goes. I think ADA is an interesting one just because it's been around since the beginning. Not the beginning, but it was there in the previous cycle. Whereas a lot of them have sort of died and not come back to life. I hold some Litecoin just because, just because I'm sort of like living in this decentralized world. But Bitcoin is my main one.
So do you have a process that you use to educate yourself on kind of new coins or projects that are coming out?
I think, so I said earlier, it's really just like, what's the utility? Do I use it? For example, I own a lot of Crow, or CRO, Kronos it's now called, which is crypto.com's coin. And I own that because I was using the card and I was getting cash back in it.
Yeah.
And the more you hold, the more staking rewards you get. And so, it is exciting. There's definitely value there because I'm using it. But that, to me, like that's sort of it in terms of my process. Do I use it? Am I going to get value from it? If it goes to zero, does it still have utility for me? And
good one.
Well, yeah, because I mean, like Kronos, like this is not me pumping it because the whole thing is crashed, which is unfortunate. But ultimately, like I still hold the coin, so I still have the card, and so I still get cash back, and I still get interest rates. But the interest rates have slashed. The interest rates are slashed. The cash back is slashed. So now it's like the value of those coins aren't as valuable anymore. So now I'm thinking, do we trust even these? Do we trust even these companies which have great utility and great ecosystems? Do we still trust them? I don't know. That's what this market, where we're at now, this phase of the market really shows. It's like, we have these bull markets where everything is booming. We have the bear markets where everything is quiet, but then it's the crash, which is where we're going through right now. And the crash is just interesting. It's interesting to see how companies react. It's interesting to see how influencers react. It's interesting to see how, different people behave during times like this. Do people disappear? Do people laugh at other people? Do companies lower their rates but give you your money back? Or do companies totally destroy your collateral and liquidate you? It's interesting to see what happens. So yeah, I mean, ultimately, if you're looking to buy an altcoin, is there still utility? Like, do you care about the utility regardless of the price, basically?
Yeah, no, that's very well said. So let's talk about safety, keeping yourself safe in this market, like online. Obviously, you do cold storage, do you in hot storage, because you mentioned some exchanges. But what's your best way to kind of keep you as safe as possible for your assets?
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read it fully, but some weird news came out about Coinbase, which is supposed to be like a super. That. What was it that they might have to start using their users' funds to help pay back?
So they said if they go bankrupt, they would basically use the coins that are sitting on the exchange with the liquidation process. So
that's not good.
So somebody else, there was another investment woman, I forgot her name. She had a very interesting theory on this. And she said, possible theory is that Brian Armstrong, the CEO, is trying to stir up some FUD to get people to move their money off of Coinbase, because the main way Coinbase makes money is through transaction fees. And with kind of what's been going on the last couple months, there wasn't as many back and forth, and there was very low transaction fees, resulting in their very low quarterly earnings. So she thinks it was to boom up those transaction fees, which is their main source of income. And I was like, that is interesting.
I think that's short-sighted.
Yeah, I don't have money sitting there, but I probably would have been like, but it made me look at everything else, right? Like where the other, like more of like the kind of hot storage, so to say, were those safe? But here's the thing, in life, you can't always play it safe. You got to just sometimes have faith.
Pretty much. I think the idea that like they did that to gain more, to increase transactions, I think is short-sighted. Coinbase already have a pretty bad reputation in the market for just crashing at necessary times. So I don't know if that's the case, but in terms of keeping, your funds safe, I think a mixture of a software wallet and a hardware wallet. So non-custodial wallet. One that I work with them is Exodus. I enjoy using them. The user experience is amazing. So that's a software wallet. And that to me is like keeping cash in your pocket. So it's like, how much money should you keep on a software wallet? Well, a software wallet sits on your phone. So what if somebody snatches your phone? So how much money are you comfortable? It's a bit like a wallet. Your wallet sits in your pocket. How much money are you comfortable with somebody snatching? $2,000? Is that what you want? Is that what you need? Is that going to be easy for you to transact with people? You know, pay your friends back, pay this person back. Is $2,000 enough for you? Maybe not. I don't know. And then the rest would be on a hardware wallet, whereby, you know, that's locked away somewhere. And you know, you're not carrying that around with you. That's sort of the goal with that. So I think it's a combination. And look, like, you can have money sitting on centralized exchanges. I mentioned plenty of exchanges during this conversation, which offer really interesting interest rates. You can certainly do that, but again, you have to consider, like, am I okay with losing this money? How do I feel if I lost this money? If the answer is I would commit suicide, then stop it. Because this is what I'm hearing. Like, people are going to commit suicide over the Luna thing. I mean, I'm soft at times, but I'm also very hard at other times. And I'm just like, why are you investing your life savings? Like, why are you investing an amount of money, which if you lost, you would commit suicide over? Like, pull yourself together. What is that?
Yeah, well, exactly. And you hope that these people realize that, like, you know, things always get better and you can bounce back. And it's the old thing, if you don't have the right mindset, you can't get rich again. It's like you take example, Donald Trump was one. When he went broke, he was able to make it all back again. Why? Because he had the mindset that made him money, right? He didn't have that mindset of, like, he didn't have that scarcity mindset. And these people that I think kind of dumped in and didn't do their education, they're probably living in a scarcity mindset. And so hopefully they'll find some faith and they have good friends and a good support system behind them, because nobody should lose their lives over this. There's other ways and other opportunities to make money. But yeah, that's why, I mean, every crypto podcast I've done on here, I'm always like, this is not financial advice. Never invest more than you can lose. But yeah, and they always say get your money off exchanges. The only money I leave on exchanges is the money I trade.
Right.
You know, would I cry? Maybe I'd shed a few tears if, like, the exchange disappeared. I don't think it will. It's a pretty big exchange. But would I be a little upset? Yeah. Would I move the fuck on in a day? Yeah. I would just
have to
make money.
You have to. You can't not. And I think it's sad to see people lose their life savings, but, like, why are you in that position? Like, you know, why is that happening? That's not good. And so, you know, I feel sorry for them, but I'm also just like, this is the problem. Like, nobody wants to take personal responsibility. Like, they're like, oh, because my favorite crypto influencer told me. Like, what the fuck? Like, if your favorite influencer told you to jump off a bridge, would you? No.
Yeah.
So why are you putting your life savings into a protocol? I mean, it's just ridiculous. But, you know, and the sad thing is, I don't think people have learned their lesson. There will be another rug pull. There'll be another crash. There'll be something else coming, but we'll have to see what that is. I don't know at this stage.
I know. And that's why it's always important to, you know, diversify,
particularly about where you put your assets, because you could also use several different hardware wallets in case one goes into the wrong person's hands. Like, you could use several different exchanges. Diversify, not just your assets, but, like, where you place them. I certainly diversify where I place my assets.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and don't forget the number one rule of crypto, guys. Never tell anyone how much crypto you have. I always want to tell people that. Do you know how many times I open Twitter and I just see people, like, posting, like, a transaction
really?
with, like, how much money they made? I'm like, you're the stupidest person.
Do they do that? You've seen people put their bank account balance on Twitter? I've not seen that.
Oh, not their bank account balance, but, like, a MetaMask balance.
Oh, wow. I've not seen
So
a MetaMask
basically
balance on Twitter.
a bank account in a different way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, wow.
Yeah, I've seen it. And it's like, are you an idiot? Are you trying to get killed or robbed? Like, it's crazy. So yeah, never tell anyone.
That's nuts.
Say, I play in this space, but you never tell anyone how much you have, because you do put yourself at risk. And you were talking about hardware wallets, which I think are good. But I also think it's important that people keep them out of their house.
Where would you suggest putting them?
And not a bank safe deposit box, because those have been hacked. I've learned that from somebody. There's like vaults that like you can go in, you're the only one that can access it. You pay a monthly fee. It's like public storage for high-end shit. And like they scan your eyes, they scan your hands, they scan your face just to get in and get access. You're the only one that can have access. They're fireproof. So if like the building burned down, like they're not going to melt through, because some of these fireproof safes you have that you can buy at like a Home Depot, if a fire is burning long enough and hot enough, they will melt. So you don't want to put it in there either. So I always say, like, if for the hardware wallets, like just find a place. There's probably tons in Florida. They're in every state, but I always would say don't keep it in your house. Don't keep it on you, because if somebody found you and then found your address, they're gonna come in and say, well, where's the fucking safe? So, I can look some up too, because I needed to find one myself.
Yeah,
my brother had one that he was looking at. So that's my 2 cents.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think as well, speaking of fire and burning down, you should also have, you could engrave your seed phrase and your private keys into something metal. Like a metal sheet is also super smart. Metal's obviously,
have you heard Seed.io?
I've seen them.
Yeah, that's a good one. He was on this podcast, Rich Levin Company, who's at Good News. So Seed Secure is what it's called. Seed Secure.
Oh, Seed Secure. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Yeah, there's a lot of really interesting ones, a lot of good ones. So I'd really recommend that. Engraving it, then it's waterproof, it's fireproof, it's bulletproof, it's fully protected. But look, what I also will say is don't kill yourself over trying to secure yourself. It's a process. It's a process. You don't want to lock yourself out your assets. I know people who have like jumbled up the order of their seed phrase. They've got like one seed phrase on one side of the world, another seed phrase. Just don't. Having good security is also like not fucking it up for yourself. So don't overcomplicate it. Like sleep at night. You do what you can do, and that's it basically.
Yeah, no, I like that, and that way, because you don't want to stress yourself out either.
You can't, and it's a rabbit hole. Security is a rabbit hole. You can go deep, you go further and deeper into all these different things. Trezor and Ledger are like industry standard, but like at times those are still sort of like online, because if you have to connect it to a computer, and what if your computer gets hacked? And there's just so much going on. I mean, I think apparently, I don't know, but apparently, I'm not going to say which one, but apparently one is like more easy to hack than the other one physically. I'm not going to say which one. One is more easy to hack than the other, more like physically. Look, you do what you can do, and like you were saying, you don't announce how much you have. No. And I think if you don't have a public profile, you're in the win. If you have a public profile like you and I, then really don't say how much you have. Yeah, find someone strong to protect you, so you don't, if someone comes banging on the door, then you got someone strong, you got a dog, you got your guns. If anyone comes to bang on the door, basically asking for your ledger.
Yeah, no, it's exactly right. But oh gosh, well, so where can everybody find you? Because I think you're amazing to follow, and everybody else.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that.
What's your Twitter, Instagram, website?
Yeah, I'm everywhere. And it's very easy. It's just my first and my last name. So it's just Layah Heilpern. So you find me on Twitter. It's just at Layah Heilpern. Instagram, Layah Heilpern. TikTok, YouTube, anywhere. I think I'm even on Snapchat. I don't know. It's just at Layah Heilpern. Website at Layah Heilpern. If you want to chat with me, DM me. You can contact me on my website. You can contact me on my DMs. I'm open. It's all open and ready to communicate and to chat.
Yeah, you guys. So yeah, definitely check her out. You tell us about, do you have 2 podcasts or 1 podcast?
I have 1 podcast, but it's available on YouTube, and then it's also available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iTunes, and all that. So maybe that's why you thought maybe it was 2, but it's the same podcast. And we talk about Bitcoin. We do talk about politics, because in my opinion, they're very, you don't have one without the other. I think they're basically one of the same thing. Yeah, so if you like, raw content whereby we don't shy away and we sort of say it as it is, then head over.
That was her
We talk
polite
about
way of
everything.
calling me a pussy, but it's okay.
Nah, you gotta.
Kidding.
I just, do you know what? I think we live in such difficult times,
Oh, it's awful.
and I think that the more silent we are, the worse it gets.
I agree with you, and I need to be more, because I think that there's a lot of stuff that's left unsaid, and people have a lot of repressed, kind of emotion, so to say. But with crypto, I feel like if you like crypto and you understand the fundamentals behind crypto, you tend to be more freedom based.
I think so, but I think so, but I also think, like, because I'm very outspoken about everything. Like I will say everything that I feel, and there's been a lot of backlash from people in crypto. Like they're like, "Well, why does crypto attract so many freedom crazy people?" And I'm like, "Bro, what are you doing here if you don't believe in freedom?" Yeah,
like,
so
crazy. But yeah, but you guys check it out, because she's got a lot of good content on that. I've watched some of the episodes on YouTube, and for ladies listening, like, she does some she did a very interesting podcast episode about kind of the feminine masculine energy. You had that guy on. Who was
Andrew.
he? Was he like a rapper, like fighter? Who is he?
Andrew's not a rapper. Oh my God. Imagine seeing Andrew rap. I have to tell him that. I have to ask him to rap for me next time. Andrew's
confident. Maybe he's a little cocky. He
is. He's super arrogant. He's super cocky. But he has the right to be. Like, he's totally self-made. Yeah, he's made a lot of money. He doesn't come from wealth. He comes from like a shitty part of the UK and the US. And yeah, he's done really well. So that's a great podcast. That is very unfiltered. If you'd like an insight into the truth of a man's mind, a lot of men would deny the reality of that podcast.
It was really good. So I encourage everybody to kind of check it out, because I was just, and I love that he was going at you like in a respectful way, but you were still holding your own. Like, you were like, "Oh, no, I disagree with you." It's like, "Oh, really? Oh, really?" But the interesting part about that, what was one of the things he said? Oh, basically, if you're dating like a super rich guy, you should just expect him to be banging other women. I was like, whoa, I think I just want to be rich.
Not a super rich guy. He said, if you're dating somebody who ticks every box, right? So he's charismatic, he's confident, he's tall, he's handsome, he's smart, he's a leader, he's an alpha, like he's got everything, then expect him to not be sexually exclusive to you at times. That's what he said. And I was like, that's not true. I'm gonna find one. I'm gonna
Yeah, I know. I was like, wait, what? I think I got to go back to church and meet a man. I don't know. Who knows?
We'll see.
Well, no, this was amazing. So you guys definitely check her out. Her name is spelled LayahHeilpern, if you're wondering how to spell that. Go follow her. Go check her out. She's amazing. Before you came on in my intro, I was like, I'm going to convince this girl to be my friend. So are you we be friends now?
We'll be friends. We'll be friends.
I'll call you guys when I get to Miami, when I come visit Miami.
For sure. No, thank you so much.
Great. This was amazing. Thank you. And thank you for everybody who takes their time to tune in, listen, and learn. Again, this is the podcast to make you happier, healthier, and wealthier. So we will see you next time to find out who's next.
Hey, your host here, Madison Malloy. Please make sure to subscribe to the show on all podcast platforms, and please rate and review us on iTunes and Spotify. Also, if you have any questions or comments, you can email us at contact@nexttomadison.com. I thank you again for listening. Bye.